Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about 10 things I wish I knew before joining a professional ballet company. As you know, I'm a professional dancer with American Ballet Theatre. I've been dancing with the company for about 8 years now. And these are some things that you learn with time, but I honestly wish somebody told me when I was in school before joining a ballet company. So let's get started. Tip number 1, you will need to figure out most things on your own. The biggest difference between school and a professional ballet company is that in school you have teachers, you have mentors, you have somebody following you and telling you good or bad all the time. In a professional ballet company, that's not usually the case. Usually it's more if you do something wrong that they will tell you. And if you're doing something good, usually it's just expected from your job. So they already expect you to be at a certain level, and a lot of the times you don't get the same praise or compliments that you would get in the school if you did something well or by your teachers and mentors. So what's so important is that you build your own support system outside of the company. So you find teachers, mentors outside that can fully guide you and help you throughout your journey. That's something that I found a little bit later on, and that's something that's really important because obviously we can improve so much on our own, but it can only take you to a certain level, and you need teachers and you need coaches to push you and to help you improve. So a lot of the times you do need to seek those out on your own. So make sure after you finish school that you keep in contact with your old school teachers, that you go there if you need advice, that you have contacts, you find coaches around you that can help you. Tip number 2, you are responsible for staying in shape or coming back in shape. One thing that I think a lot of schools or academies don't teach you is how to actually stay in shape or come back into shape when you have time off. That's something that's really hard when you join the company because you have like a month off and then you are expected to come back into the rehearsal season already ready and already ready to dance 6 hours days, where you're dancing different ballets every hour, where you're performing 2 months after or 1 month after. And that's something that's not really taught. This is actually something that you learn once you're in the company, but there is nothing that prepares you for it as of now. And I think it's one of the things that hurt the most, because when you're not ready to come back into a rehearsal period, that's when most injuries happen. But not because obviously you're not ready, or you probably are ready dance-wise. It's just your body doesn't have the same readiness as it would have, if you've been rehearsing for like 2 months and then performing and then rehearsing and then performing. And it's especially difficult because every single body is different and you have to find your own way of staying in shape. For example, for me, I really like cross-training. I do personal training with my trainer at the Limit Fit, and I absolutely love that. She knows me so well, she knows my weaknesses, and she can get me in shape pretty quickly. She can get my muscles ready and just my muscles like reactive. And then I do classes with my partner, which are, I would do like 3-hour classes, and we will work on basic technique, and that would help me really fire up some of the muscles that I need, as well as personalized workouts on my own to target my weaknesses, so that when I come back into a rehearsal period, I know my body is ready to handle it. And that's something super important to prevent injuries and to be able to feel your best, because I find myself, if I go back and I feel weak or I don't feel ready to take on all the workload, I feel like I don't feel my best and my confidence is not the same. But that's something I had to realize throughout the years. So I did wish that somebody told me earlier on and give me some more tips about these. And I also have classes that I do. So if you guys want to see some of the ballet classes, comments below. And as well as I have some of my workouts that I do, and I posted a couple of them, but if you're interested I can post some more as well. Next, number 3, learning choreography is fast-paced. That's something they do not teach you in school. A lot of the times in school you do solos, you do your own, pas de deux, you do the main character, you do the main ballerina, you learn different variations of the repertoire, but nobody teaches you to learn choreography fast. And especially at American Ballet Theatre, you have to be ready. So when you get in the studio, we have videos, you have to come prepared. A lot of the times what happens is that if there is injuries or things happening, you have to switch spot at like the last minute. I've had times where I had to learn a spot like an hour before going on stage, a completely different spot. Which, let me tell you, you have one video and you have to completely switch the spot. It's not easy. And that's something that in school, it's definitely not taught. I came from studio company. They did like tell you that that was gonna happen a little bit, but in studio company it's 15 dancers and you usually get to do some solos. You don't really do corps de ballet work. Honestly, I found it pretty fun, kept it, interesting. But as you first join the company, it is very overwhelming because you have to be able to learn choreography really quickly, and they expect you to already know the spot, already know what you're doing, and you have to study it from a video. That's something that I would like try to do in school, is I would try to learn a choreography pretty quickly and just give yourself like a day you learn the variation and the next day you have to come prepared and know the whole variation already. Or even like learning some group dances, for example the 6 girls in Giselle. If there is a company that you like, just learn that dance and learn how it moves into the space with other people, because that's really helpful. And a lot of the times when you first join a company, obviously you are in the corps de ballet, so that's the first thing they see you do. So yeah, that's something that really is different when you join a company from a school. And you do need to train your brain to think fast and learn fast that way and learn choreography. Also because when choreographers come, they usually move very fast. Like they will show you a combination and then you have to do it. So there is no like waiting, there's no questions asked, there is no explaining thoroughly what exactly the step is. They give you the step and then you have to do it and you have to put your own take on the step. One story that I actually have for that is I was an apprentice with the company, and that was the first time I was, with the company fully. And we were doing the Nutcracker and my alternate got injured mid-show. So I was at the hotel because usually they tell you if they really need you, like it's usually like before the show, but they didn't need me. Obviously my alternate was there, and I get a call mid-show and I'm at the hotel, and luckily the hotel is like 10 minutes from the theater, but I'm at the hotel like in my pajamas, and I get a call and they're like, can you come here and dance the second act? So I had to run from my hotel, go to the theater and get ready in 15 minutes to do the second act. It was the ballet the Nutcracker, so I was gonna do flowers too, which is pretty tough on the body, flowers. But it was so crazy because from the hotel I ran so fast. Took me by that point 5 minutes to get to the theater, and then they were doing like makeup on me, hair, everything, and then I put my pointe shoes on and then I was on stage. So yeah, that was a crazy adventure. So always be ready for anything, really, but that's the fun of it. That takes us to number 4. Don't forget to have fun. It's so easy in the dance world to get caught up with casting, to get caught up with the pressure of it, to get caught up with the roles that we're doing. It can get competitive between people because obviously everybody wants the same roles. There is limited amount of roles, and it can be very overwhelming and a lot of times heartbreaking, obviously, if you don't get the role that you want. That's why we always have to remember to have fun. It's honestly so fun to be with everyone and dance. Even obviously, even as a core ballet member, is like so fun because you have all your colleagues there, you all support each other, you're all going through it the same way, you're performing on stage, you're doing crazy quick changes, you're preparing your makeup before the show, you're traveling around the world, and that's honestly so fun. And there is so many things, the show is not perfect, so some things can go wrong, which is also fun because if everything went right all the time, it would be a little boring. So sometimes just remember to have fun and to release that part of like pressure casting. Just remember that you're there to have fun and you're there because you're doing something that you love. It's very important not to forget that, because after you do it for a while, you can lose the fun. So always remember to have fun. Point number 5. It takes time to find the perfect pointe shoe. It's not easy to find a pointe shoe that fits perfectly, and especially because throughout the time our feet change, our body changes. So a lot of the times it's not even finding the perfect shoe, is gonna be a whole process of finding the shoe. I didn't know this about pointe shoes. Obviously I knew that you had to find the shoe for you, but I didn't realize how tough it is within time, because your feet change and your body changes and your body alignment changes. Just be patient and realize that you will have great shoes. It might take time. We're so lucky because at ABT we get shoes from the company, which is so useful, and we work with brands like Block, Freeze that help us find the perfect shoe. But what I realized also for myself is that a lot of the times the perfect shoe is the perfect shoe for like 2 years, and then it changes, and then you need another perfect shoe. So just always remember that the perfect shoe is something that will grow. Point number 6. You can give your 100% every day. When I was in school, I was at La Scala Ballet School, and a lot of a misconception I think that is taught is that you are supposed to give 100% every single day. But the reality is, to have a sustainable career, you can't give 100% every day. You have to give your best every day, whatever that looks like. So if one day my body is a little bit off, I'm not on my leg, I cannot do things as perfectly as I did 2 days before, it's fine. That's your best that day. And that doesn't mean that now suddenly you're a horrible dancer. It just means that that's the best you can give that day. And that's totally fine. Because expecting to give 100% of yourself every single day, that's just gonna lead to burnout. Because in a company, the reward is not always comparable to how much, like, your whole hard work and if you give 100% that day. Obviously, we're all human beings. So you need to understand that you're also a human being, and you cannot give 100% that day if your best that day is 80%. Because, we're tired, our bodies are tired, mentally it's really tough. Be nice to yourself and expect to give your best every single day, whichever that looks like, because that's the achievement. You woke up and that day you're so tired, but you went and you took class as your best. Might have not been the best class of your life, but you went there, you took class, you did your best, and you took a little bit easier in rehearsal because that day you're a little bit tired, and that's fine, because you need to take care of yourself, and your health and your body's health comes first. So just remember that, because I do think a lot of the times it's a misconception in the ballet world. Now let's go to point number 7. Look for inspiration, but don't forget your uniqueness. That's super important. Why? Because it's so good to look for inspiration, but everybody's so different as a dancer. Nobody's the same. We're not numbers, right? We cannot all be the same number. We all have different bodies. We have a different characteristics about ourselves. We have different way of movement. That's what makes ballet so beautiful. But sometimes we forget. You see somebody and you're like, I want to be like them. But you can be like them. You can get inspiration from them, right? So, you like the way they turn. So you try to see what they're doing. Maybe they found some trick or something that helps them be that way. But you can't have somebody else's leg. You can't have somebody else's feet. And that's just how it is. So you have to find your uniqueness and your strength and play on that, because that's so beautiful. And maybe you don't have the leg as high as somebody else, but you can do a beautiful jump or something different. Maybe you don't have somebody's turn, but you have a beautiful way of moving on stage and acting and being and embodying the role. So you do have to find that uniqueness and you have to stand by it. Learn how to speak up for yourself. In school, this is not taught at all. Usually it's the opposite. You have to be humble all the time. You have to not say anything. You have to just do what you're told, and that's it. That changes when at some point you get into the company and then you realize that your career is actually in your own hands as well. Being able to stand up for yourself is so important, because a lot of the times there is so many things that go into casting, and there is a lot of dancers, so sometimes they forget, they don't think about you that time. They just are really busy, so they are doing everything in a little bit of a rush. So you have to think that you are the only person responsible for standing up for yourself. What that means: if you think you're capable for a role, don't be afraid to ask for it. If you're overlooked in some of the casting choices or things, don't be afraid to ask a question, obviously in a very respectful manner, but be able to ask a question of, why were you in the role? Is there something you need to improve to be able to have the casting that you want to have? And always being able to be like, I'm very open to improving, and I wasn't casted in this. What things do I need to do to be able to be casted in this? Because at the end of the day, maybe, they are looking for a particular variation for a person that is, jumps is their strength, right? So maybe jumps are not your strength, but your strength is in another variation. And in saying this, you have to be really aware of what your strengths, your uniqueness is. Because obviously, if I have a horrible jump, then I'm not gonna go and ask for a variation that is all jumping. But maybe I have higher legs, so maybe I'll go and ask for a variation that's more slow and adagio driven. So those are some things that you learn with time, and usually, obviously when you join the company, you're an apprentice, so you want to be able to do like good core work, but later on within the company, as you are more established in the company and you feel like you want to challenge yourself, it is okay to ask for some roles or ask for things that maybe you need to improve to be able to do those roles. And that's something I learned later on, which sometimes I wish I learned a little bit earlier, because it really helps you. It really helps you grow as a dancer, it really helps you grow as a person, and it's really good to obviously stand up for yourself. And a lot of the times in school they don't tell you this, so I'm gonna be telling you right now. Learn to speak up for yourself. Tip number 9. You don't have to push through injuries. Huge. When I first joined the company, I wanted to be there always, 100%. And that meant for me that if I had any pain at all, I needed to push through it. What that does though is later on, your pushing through injuries becomes a very bad injury, which is not good at all. And a lot of the times that's what you see in a company. You see people wanting to do that role or wanting to show that they can do everything, and they push through injuries, and that's one of the worst things you can do for yourself. First of all, because having an injury is just not good for your health. As a human, you don't want to have a boot on your foot walking around. You don't want to have to spend months recovering from an injury. Realizing that those injuries are a part of your journey is what's really important, because a lot of the times people are like, oh my god, I'm injured, it's the end of the world, my life is over. Injuries are a very normal part of a dancer's journey. And during that time when you're injured, it is actually a very big opportunity for growth in life and as a person, and as a dancer, because it makes you realize how much you love dancing, and if that's something you really want to do. Also, the human side of it makes you more appreciative of what you do. My puppy came to visit. Hi. He's Romeo. He's 6 months. Say hi. Say hi. Alright, so this brings us to the very, very last point. Work-life balance is important, is the key. You have to have other things outside of dancing. Hobbies, you have to have friendships, you can obviously a partner if you want to. Just have fun outside of dancing, because dancing is so beautiful and it's important and it's what you love to do. But there is a whole life outside of it, and it's so important to remember that, because sometimes we get so caught up with dancing and ballet world and everything, and it can become quite toxic. Always remember to develop your outside life. It's what made me actually a better dancer, is when I started opening up to life outside of dancing, to friendships, to people, to my partner. We have a dog now. That's what also makes me happy. So if I'm happy outside as well, then I'm gonna be a happier dancer too. And you know, dancing, as I spoke before, is about human contact. It is about being a human. You interpret roles like Juliet. Juliet is such a deep role. She has so much life and she has so much feeling, and you cannot, obviously you act those, but you can't fake those feelings. And I think having an outside life and outside relationships and outside hobbies, whichever those are, that you love, is so important to help you grow as a dancer, but help you grow as a person. And this all brings us to the end. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. It's things that I wish somebody told me when I was 16. I also do some mentorship coaching private classes. If you're interested, just DM me on Instagram. So if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and especially comment, because I love to hear your thoughts. And if you have questions or things that I didn't think about, I will answer them in the comments. So let me know. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Say bye. Bye.